So we're here with a rare recorded episode of the list. Jordan, it is 2:22, triple twos right now, Monday afternoon. When I asked yesterday when you wanted to record, and you said anytime after 2. I'm thinking, okay, there's not going to be a trade by then. First trade goes through 7 a.m. Everybody knows by now Jaelan Phillips has been traded for a third-round pick. Keyword is the Eagles pick. They had 2 picks, one being the Jets, one being their own. So it is essentially going to be a very late third rounder. Jordan, we talked about last week potentially extending Phillips, but especially after the game on last Thursday, I kind of realized with the injuries, with the lack of finished product, and the fact that we are gearing up for a rebuild that I think might be a little more extreme than a rebuild we did in 2019 in terms of how we approach this. And I can explain my thought process of that in a second. But it didn't really make sense to re-sign him. It also didn't make sense because of the lack of production, because of the injuries, to give him a big contract. I see a lot of people upset about the trade. Taking on the contract is upsetting some people because the cap can roll over. Honestly, to me, that doesn't matter as much as getting the third. It sounds like most teams wanted to give a fourth-round pick. I've seen some argument that the Dolphins were a little too quick, but I think it's clear that Champ Kelly has been given the task of getting as many picks as possible, or quality picks.
Yeah. So, Brett, I just want to note that's twice in a row now. I said, do you want to record Friday? And you said, oh, we'll wait till later. And then Chris Greer was fired, and we said we got to jump on now. And then fast forward, I'm like, you want to record? And you're like, oh, we can wait till later. And then Jaelan Phillips gets traded.
Yeah.
So we're 2 for 2 now. I'm going to wait until I think something else is going to happen, and then
well, I have Twitter up, so we'll see if something happens while we're recording.
But
yeah, thoughts on Phillips.
As for the Phillips trade, look, if you want to argue that we should have gotten the Jets pick instead of the Eagles pick, fair. I think that's a fair argument. I think that I would have much rather us hold a little firm. But you also don't know if there was somebody else that the Eagles were going to like and they were going to make a different deal and you were going to get stuck with nothing. I think that after the last couple of weeks, it was clear, especially another embarrassing missed sack, that those are seemingly very, very public, that it was either going to be an extension that people weren't thrilled with, or it was probably going to be a trade that people weren't thrilled with. I think getting a day 2 pick is a win. I think that it's the highest compensatory pick that you could get. And that pick, if we were to not extend Phillips, if he were to get signed, and if it were to be that we got a third-round compensatory pick for that signing based off of his future play, that pick wouldn't come till 2027 at minimum. Okay. A 2026 third-round pick is worth more than a 2027 third-round pick, which is why I think the Dolphins took the value that they took and moved on. Look, day 2, Brett, you and I love day 2 of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Things stand the way they do and may even be a little more going forward. And even if we get a couple day 3 picks, it gives us some ammunition. Okay. I think on day 2 of the draft, we're going to be like, okay, it was a good trade because it's going to be fun. And I think it's going to be like this. And then it's going to be for the rest of that guy's career, is that guy better than what Jaelan Phillips does for the Eagles, who are going to compete for a Super Bowl for the next 5 years?
Yeah. I don't know if I would say if that's the right way to look at it, because knowing our luck, Jaelan Phillips is going to start finishing all his sacks now.
Yeah, of course. That's why I said, of course, he's going to start making big. But to me, it's not about that. To me, no. It's the Dolphins are at a point where they need to start over. They're going to have a lot of dead money. They can't pay $17 to $22 million or be in a contract negotiation battle with a guy at that high of a price point when you have so many other question marks within the roster right now and within the team right now. And if you're at a point where you're talking about 100 million dead, if you're moving off of Tua going into next year, you need to start cutting corners a little bit and replacing Phillips with a third round pick next year at that number is a win.
Yep. And to go with what I was saying earlier, I almost feel like this is a hockey fire sale / rebuild. And what I mean by that, and I'll explain it. The NFL is the only league that does not have, well, that does have a hard cap. The other leagues have luxury taxes. They have cap mechanisms you can use. The NFL doesn't. That's why the trade deadline can be a little fishy. And unlike hockey, unlike baseball, and to a lesser extent basketball too, you also don't trade prospects for an established player like you do in those sports.
Right.
But what you do in hockey, and you see a lot of teams do this, is if you're rebuilding, you take the picks, you eat cap space and then you can build it later. Absolutely. So a lot of ways, I think this is an admission of we know we're not competing in 2026. Maybe. I think it's kind of a we are going to just load up to get the youngest, cheapest team without relying on cheap veterans like we have.
I think it's more than either of those things, Brett. I think it's giving whoever the new general manager is enough ammunition to work with. And it looks like it's going to be a new general manager with Mike McDaniel. But I also think that there's a chance that this thing goes so poorly over the next 10 weeks that it might not. I would list it more likely. I would say it's about 50-50. When 2 weeks ago, I would have said it's 20-80.
Yep. And what else? Last thing I'll say about Jaelan Phillips. I know a lot of people loved him. I know a lot of people love the idea of Jaelan Phillips based off his athletic profile and the pressure he gets. But something people have to realize when you are rebuilding, when you want a fire sale and you want to give up picks, you are going to have to give up players you do not want to give up as a fan. But you also got to give up players that have a market. And Jaelan Phillips, because of his youth, will have a bigger market than other players. And for some, it sucks. I'm not going to get into this, oh, this was a great deal. Oh, we got fleeced. It's neither of that. If you read the reports since Chris Greer got fired, said the Dolphins wanted the third pick. Way to look at it, we bought a third pick. We're eating $6 million to get a third round pick.
Now, Brett, what impact does that $6 million have on next year's cap? Any?
I am not the expert of that, but it does roll over. So for a tight cap, we can't roll over the extra. So that is going to affect next year's cap. But at this point, from my perspective,
that's essentially the difference between that guy's third round contract and getting closer to the Phillips number. It's still saving money.
Yeah, but I'll also say this. I do not care about that. At this point, I don't care about the cap. Now it's just like get the ammunition. Yeah. That's just me. I'm not telling other people they're wrong. I'm not telling people not to worry about the cap. From my perspective, it's about getting the premium picks.
Yeah, and it's like I said about giving whoever the new general manager is, and we went over names with Kevin last time. It's giving whoever the new general manager is, whether with McDaniel or without, as much of a chance to draft as possible. Brett, to you, does this mean we're going to go more of a getting more draft expert routes?
I think it's hard to say. I think they just my opinion is whoever's making the decisions, whether it's I think it's come from Stephen Ross, because I think Stephen Ross has flat out told Champ Kelly, get ammunition. But you can put his son-in-law, you can put Mike Garfinkel, you can put Champ Kelly in here too. I think the decision was made. The roster we have isn't working. So you just got to clear what you can and start over.
Do you think that Champ Kelly got as much as he could have for Phillips? Or do you think if he waited till closer to tomorrow afternoon that he could have gotten more? Because I think we got, maybe you get the Jets pick, but maybe you lose out completely. I think he got good value.
I do not think, especially now with it becoming more. I think only 2 second-round picks last year did not get a guaranteed deal, like fully guaranteed contract. I think getting a second-round pick was way too ambitious, and you also got to consider Phillips is a pending free agent, and again, 2 serious leg injuries back-to-back years,
And medical
and
retirement in college.
yeah, medical retirement in college. Although that was more of a UCLA thing, because I think UCLA at the time was if you got 2 concussions, you have to medically retire kind of thing. But that's a different discussion.
That's still there when you're talking
It's
about
still, yeah, it's still there. Plus, yes, he's getting a lot of pressure, but his best sack season was his rookie year. And that was what, 7.5, 8.5 sacks. I don't think the production has been there either to get into a bidding war. But the biggest thing is he's an upcoming free agent.
Correct.
So you were not going to get a second-round pick. Could they have
What do
gotten
you
a
think
higher
they get
one?
for a guy like Bradley Chubb or Minka, who they're also talking about being out there? Because I don't think you're getting anything more than a day 3 pick.
Yeah. From what I saw on Twitter today, Miami would like a third-round pick for Chubb.
Chop?
Chubb.
Oh.
Yeah, for Chubb.
I don't think you're getting a third for Chubb.
I don't think you're getting a third for Chubb. And just so everybody knows, right now, the early word is the players Miami is feeling the most calls for or actively shopping are Bradley Chubb, Minka Fitzpatrick, Matthew Judon, and Russell Douglas.
Judon, you essentially take either a 6th, a 7th, or even like him and a 6th for a 5th, something like that.
Yeah.
Judon,
you would have. Yeah, Judon, you'll get something low.
Huh?
Judon, you could probably get something low for, but you're not getting much.
Chubb, I
don't
don't know you're going to get anything for him.
I don't think so either. Bradley Chubb, from what I've heard, the Dolphins would probably have to give a pickup in return to get him. So I think the most likely to leave is Minka, because it sounds like he might be the one they are shopping the most aggressively now that Jaelan Phillips is gone.
Well, it's kind of what you spoke about before when it came to Phillips, is he's the one that kind of balances the value that you can get and the value he's worth to you. You got to, like the analogy you gave is you have to give something up in order to get a day 2 pick. So if Minka's the only guy that you have sitting there that can get a day 2 pick, you got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing everybody wants to know is who's all getting traded. I think you might see 1, maybe 2 other people get traded. And I say this knowing the Eagles, how aggressive the Eagles have been, but it's very tough, especially with Champ Kelly taking over on a Friday and the deadline being Tuesday. That's a quick turnaround time.
Even if Champ Kelly came in on Friday, it wasn't like Chris Greer wasn't taking calls. So you kind of knew the framework of what other teams were willing to give. You just needed somebody. It was clear from the last time we spoke that Chris Greer wasn't really looking to push through those deals at the value that we were getting.
Yeah. Either way, I think from the sounds of everything, Chris Greer was very hesitant to make any trades, but he also was trying to get blown out of the water for every player we had. When some people, and I've seen this discussion today, oh, well, Chris Greer would have gotten more. I don't think Chris Greer would have traded Jaelan Phillips.
Right.
Honestly, don't. Right. I think he would have said, let's go into the offseason, get fired, and then we're in a situation where you're either trying to re-sign Phillips or you are looking at trying to get a comp pick, like you said, in 2027. And that means you're hoping, and I think Kyle Crouch put this out, you are hoping he gets even qualify for a comp pick, you need him to get $22 to $24 million a year.
Yes.
So I think this was basically,
which is the number you weren't willing to give him.
Yeah, I would not have given him that. And it's 100% because of the health. I just don't feel comfortable banking on someone who has not proven to be healthy. And something I have said all day is like, look, I get Jaelan Phillips is super talented. He still has the ability to be a top edge rusher, but we are a fan base that is constantly complaining that Chris Greer and the Miami Dolphins took chances on people with injury histories. And now you want to sign someone who has an injury history.
Yes.
long term. So that to me is where I'm like, you got to make sacrifices. Nothing against Phillips. Love the pick. Think he's a good player, great guy. But I don't think much else is going to happen, or not much different could have happened with that. As for the rest of the trade line, I'm expecting Minka to go. I don't think anybody will be too upset based off the package because safeties don't really tend to go for a lot in trades.
Well, the part I think people are going to be upset with is, didn't we just extend him?
I don't think we did. I
Did we
think
give
Minka.
Minka a contract?
I think we reworked it, but I think it's so all of his guaranteed money is this year. We're not on the hook for any more guaranteed money after this year.
It looks to me via Spotra here. I'm going to pull this up for you. I'll do this, and this will be good to look at together. Here's what I see, and I'm going to extend this so you could see more. This would be next year's contract.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's, from what I understand, yeah, he has another year, but he has an out so that we can, if we got rid of him this year, we would not be on the hook for anything guaranteed going forward.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then it's okay to just get what you can get for him, and he goes to the highest bidder.
Yeah. Bradley Chubb, it sounds like we are, even though he does not have any guaranteed money after this year, it sounds like it complicates things that for Bradley Chubb, you would probably have to eat some of those incentives still on his contract. So because of that, I do not think.
Although we are recording, Brett, I will stop you to say that it was just tweeted that Jerry Jones has announced that the Cowboys have made a trade.
Oh, we shall hold out a little bit. So in a couple seconds, this may come out is already as ill-timed info. But if you want me to say who I think is most likely to be traded, I would say Minka's one now, Chubb two, just because I think those guys have value. I do not think Matthew Judon has value based off of his current play, but I think he'd be third because teams want and need pass rushers. And then Rasul Douglas four, just because, yes, teams always need corners, but I think getting a corner in his 30s is a little tough to make a trade for. But I would take, if we get a day 3 pick for any of them at this point, I would accept it for them. But that's the way I'm looking at it.
You know, with the Cowboys, they might have traded for an edge. Could it be?
I am looking to see. I have not seen anything yet, but I have that pulled up.
This is fun. We're perusing in real time.
Yep, we're just recording, so that makes it a little different, but still fun. So make
All right,
fun.
Brett. The last question I have for you before we get off, and the last thing I kind of want to talk about here is we talk kind of about the lower end guys, but what about the values on Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane?
Achane ain't happening. I think it's been made clear. I think it's made clear that he's untouchable, unless you want to give like
multiple firsts.
And
if I'm another team, I don't think I'm giving multiple firsts for Achane.
Yeah,
I think he's just too valuable to this offense on his rookie contract.
Yeah. Same with Waddle. I think it starts at a first and a second. But I think it's been made very clear the Dolphins do not want to get rid of him. But again, to kind of contradict myself there, I think you have to look at what I was thinking about earlier, where I think the Dolphins just want premium picks right now. They want ammo. They want to be able to move around. They want to be able to get a chance at as many top prospects as they can. So if you offer them multiple high-value picks, I think they're going to take it.
Yeah.
So still looking to see. I haven't seen anything come up.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Waddle, I mean, if you're really changing this organization and redoing it, and you have an opportunity to get a first and a second round pick for any player, essentially, other than Achane, I think you do it. And I think the same is true for Waddle. I think if that's what a team is offering, you do it. But outside of that, you can't.
Okay. Yep, and I do see the tweet as of 5 seconds ago from the ever reliable and never engagement farming account ML Football that the Dallas Cowboys made an impact trade per Jerry Jones. It says immediately address some things that have been our shortcomings.
And what has
So
been Dallas's shortcomings?
I am pretty sure it's edge because they traded Micah Parsons. But let us see.
Let's see if it gets released in the next couple minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, how would you put the potential trade options in terms of likeliness?
I think Chubb is going to go. I think that there are too many teams that need an edge rusher in the league. And he's a good one and having a good year. I think there's a chance we get, my guess is a 4th round pick for him. I'll be happily shocked at more. I wouldn't be really surprised by a little bit less. I think Minka stays because I think that we're going to get a late day 3 pick and it's going to be worth it to just keep him around. I don't think Rasul Douglas goes.
I don't either. And
I
apparently, just to interrupt you there, apparently the 3 teams that have called about him are the Lions, the Commanders, and Jaguars.
didn't Marshawn Lattimore just get hurt? Or was
he tore his ACL, yep.
So, there's a chance if they don't get somebody else there that Douglas could be an option, but you're not getting more than a 6th round pick for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Will there be one surprise? Maybe. I don't know if there's a team out there that really wants Jalen Wright when they can get somebody off the street or somebody off a practice squad. I think the running back position just has so much talent that you can kind of grab someone that's scheme specific. I don't think any of our receivers, because I don't see a team really giving up what we want to get for Waddle. I'd be surprised. I don't know. I think Chubb will go, and I think there's a little bit of a chance that you see like a Rasul Douglas trade.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the only other one that for sure is going to go, and again, that's one of the reasons we're stalling a little bit for the Cowboy tweet, which don't know how long that'll take to come out. So you just like it's a supply and demand thing, and you can only go with what other teams are offering you. And to me, I would actually say, look, if someone offers you a 5th for certain people, take it. Get the picks. You can move those around. You can use them for future picks. You can go use them to trade up. So to me, I'm just in grab picks modes. I don't care who the player is, unless like within reason. I'm not giving up Jalen Waddle for a 2nd round pick. Sorry, no. We just assigned him to an extension. He's young. With all the other extensions that have come to wide receivers, he is still going to be fairly cheap compared to
Brett,
other.
From Ernie the Cowboys fan, who has $25,000 followers on Twitter. He is a global ambassador for the Dallas Cowboys. He says a source tells him that the Cowboys have reached out to the Dolphins to inquire about a potential trade for Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
He also says 4 hours ago that the Cowboys have reached out to the Raiders and Bengals about Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. But he did say 54 seconds ago that they're reaching out about Minka.
Yeah. I don't think so. To go back, it sounds like the team that was most interested in Bradley Chubb is the Niners, and they just lost their rookie 1st round pick to a torn ACL yesterday. But it sounds like they're also looking at Johnson from the Jets as well. So
Michael Hall of the Cleveland Browns, a defensive tackle, just tweeted the word trade. That is your minute by minute update.
Yeah, I did see the Browns, despite being bad, are expected to be buyers at the deadline.
They're a team on the way up. I think they should be buyers. I don't think in this draft, if they think Dylan Gabriel's the guy, which we can have that discussion a different time, I don't think they shouldn't be buyers.
Yeah. I think they're at the point now where they want to set up because it's showing that the division can be easily taken in the next year. I don't think they're gonna have a chance this year, although you can't with how the division looks, it's not impossible. But I think they kind of want to get set up for next year more than anything. But yeah, the Minka move to the Dallas makes sense. I don't think the market for Chubb is either as fruitful as the Dolphins want or fans expect, and the picks aren't anywhere near where the Dolphins feel it might be worth trading Bradley Chubb. I think Jaelan Phillips had more of a market, and I think the Dolphins just were like, we need to guarantee we have the pick.
What if Dallas and Miami are talking about Chubb and Minka? Wouldn't that be fun?
It'd be something. I'd be wanting some.
And that's a way, like, would you rather take 2 fifths or would you rather take a third or a fourth? Like, that's at
that point, I would want a third and a young player.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
we're going to go, Brett, we're going to stop this recording. And before we even post this recording, the Dolphins are going to make a trade and none of this is going to be worth it. And we're going to have to.
We already know it. We already know it. But like I said, just to kind of put a bow on it, like Minka is the most likely to get traded. Anybody else is a bonus to me at this point. I figured Phillips would be gone. But I think just have to restate it again. The hard cap of the NFL makes this a lot harder than it does in any other trade deadlines or team sport leagues trade deadlines.
Yeah, I love the trade deadline, especially when your team's a buyer or a seller. But in this case, unfortunately, we're sellers.
Yeah, and it sucks, but just get the picks and just kind of keep watching as the
we're going to have fun around draft season, Brett.
Yeah, around draft season. But the biggest thing now is to see how how young players develop, kind of put feelers out to see who the GM is going to be. The only thing I'll say on the GM, and I don't trust Florio and PFT, but he said Champ Kelly has no shot at the job. I do not think Kelly is going to be the GM. I see all these people already saying fire Champ Kelly. Again, Bro's been given the mandate to get draft picks.
He hasn't even gotten through his 4th day of work. With the weekend, he hasn't even gotten through his 2nd day of work.
Yeah, maybe even first, because I don't know if he started working right on Friday with this, but
I mean, I think with the trade deadline approaching, I think he's been working nonstop. In all seriousness.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be exciting in the offseason, but I don't think the trade deadline is going to be what people expect. The funniest thing to me has also just been people are excited to sell players until it's a player they like. And then it's everybody's an idiot. But you want to do it right, you got to make sacrifices.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so we'll end that. I told Jordan I have a meeting in 10 minutes, so we hopped on. But if anything happens we're talking about, we can maybe do it again today, or we can hop on tomorrow and talk more after the deadline.
Absolutely, Brad. Always fun.
Yep. Talk to you later, buddy.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye.